Hey, this is Meridith Elliott, Powell. You know what time it is. It is 8 a.m. Eastern Saturday morning, our favorite time of the week. Time for a Sales Logic. Mark, has it been a good week for you?
It's been a good week. It was Halloween, right? So what can go wrong on Halloween?
Oh, I mean, your grandchildren were so ridiculously cute.
Right.
So cute. All right, we got a good show. I mean, Halloween sort of kicks off the holiday season, and that's what we're going to be focused on today. So let's go ahead and start the video and get this show rolling.
Prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value. But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is an emotional business.
This is Sales Logic.
Where we dive into the strategies, discuss the steps, everything that you need to know to be more effective at this important skill of sales. Now, before Mark tells you what we've got on tap for today, I always like to tell you how the show works because we want to invite you, the audience, to ask questions. And you have been asking some great questions lately. Really tells us how to create a very relevant show. So if you have a question, go to saleslogicpodcast.com, put it in there. We will make it, we will feature you right here on the show. We cover a book, a hot topic, and because we want you to leave with return on investment, we cover a lightning round. So Mark, what's up for today?
Well, we're going to be talking about how do you prospect during the holiday season because it's upon us and so many people shut down. You don't need to. We're going to share some strategies. The question this week comes from one of our mastermind members, Bill King, here in Texas. He says, hey, what advice do you have for prospecting around the holidays? I know because he was asking me because he leads a sales team. And how do you keep them engaged? So, hey, I threw that question into the Sales Logic brain, and it came back with a number of things, but a couple I'm going to highlight on it. It said during the holiday season, you really got to focus on building relationships because the tone and the tempo does change. So focus on building relationships. And the other thing is be flexible with timing because meetings won't always occur when you want them to. So you got to give it a little bit of grace, a little bit of flexibility there. But there's a lot of other things that we can talk about. So why don't you jump in? What are some things, strategies to prospect around the holidays?
Yeah, I think the very first thing that you need to do is to be proactive and to be mindful about it. We're filming this on November 2nd. It's such good timing. I'm so glad Bill King asked this now because I would really take this next week. If you're listening to us right now, really take this next week and be mindful about who you're going to call on, when you're going to call on. There's a lot of interruption in the holiday season. I mean, you don't want to be reaching out to people on Thanksgiving Day if there are people who are home celebrating with, with their family. So what can you do before? What can you do after? How can you use? So I think where you need to begin is to be intentional about what you're going to do and who you're going to call on.
Unless you're prospecting into Canada on
Thanksgiving. Yeah, that's true.
Because they already had their day. Yeah, anyway. But, this brings up a key thing. You got to understand the calendar. And this year in particular, we got New Year's falls on a Wednesday, Christmas falls on a Wednesday. We got different holidays on. So it's going to be an unusual calendar, which means you got to sit down now and plan out your calendar because okay, there are certain days that you're undoubtedly going to take off, certain days. What days is your company going to be closed? For many businesses, it's the end of the fiscal year. So when is the last date to get credit terms set up? When is the last date to get credit applications in? Same thing with customers you're selling to. If you're selling to a new customer, when can they accept shipments? When can they not? There's so many factors. And these are things that you got to sit down right now at the 1st of November and plan out that calendar because otherwise you're going to get caught short. And you're going to be wondering what happened.
Yeah, I would also say that I would focus on customers that have budget that needs to be used. I was driving down the road yesterday and I saw a billboard a sign outside of a dentist office that said, use your benefits or lose your benefits. That a lot of people have dental insurance and it'll renew at the beginning of the year. Well, it's the same for us. I've got a client that has X amount of budget in training that they've got to use before the end of the year. So it's a great time to allow them to buy something, even if you're going to deliver in 2025. But go through your prospect list, go through your customer list, and really think about budgets and who might have more information at that time, more ability or more need to spend money.
That's so key, because at the end of the fiscal or the end of the calendar year is the end of the fiscal year for many, many businesses, but it's not for others. Look at government, the federal government. They just flipped the calendar. They just literally flipped the calendar out. A lot of state governments did too. So that changes their spending. There's also businesses that don't have their fiscal year in until the end of January, the end of February. Understand that, because again, this is going to help you in terms of managing how and when and where you spend your time. It also is going to help you determine who most likely is going to be willing to take a meeting with me. Because again, like if you're in the dental industry, if you're in medical, I've got a daughter and a daughter-in-law that works in the medical industry, and the end of the year, it's zoo time because people are using up their benefits. So again, that's an industry that probably off the table for you or a little more difficult to get into. So understand those seasonal flows of the industries you sell into.
Yeah. And I think, if you that happens to be your niche, those industries that are really tied up at the end of the year, like let's assume that you focus on financial services, and financial services, for a lot of them, it's difficult at the end of the year. Use your prospecting as an opportunity to plant seeds for meetings in January and February. I always like to say, and I advise my clients to meet their goals by the end of third quarter. You should set your sales goals and really work very hard so that fourth quarter is planting the seeds for first quarter. So, if you are desperate in fourth quarter, if you need fourth quarter to make your numbers, it's a little trickier because it's time compressed, and it's probably the quarter where you have the least control of the buying cycle. There's so many variable factors happening here. People are pressed for time. They've got their own deadlines to meet. Holiday season interrupts into it. People are tired. They don't want to make decisions in the fourth quarter. So there's a lot happening there. So if you can focus more on appointment setting, more on getting things in place for first quarter, you're in a better position.
Yeah, but don't think for a moment that you step your foot off the gas and you don't prospect, because again, you're just shifting how you prospect. One of the things that I always use this time frame for, November and December, is the time to deepen the relationships. We talked about this, that came out in the brain, because again, many times you can get phone calls, you can get conversations, you can get meetings with people that you don't normally get. And this is absolutely key. Have that conversation. A strategy that I'm doing, if you were to open up my CRM system right now, you would see it loaded with tasks. I happen to use Zoho, and tasks for different people who I am reaching out to all the way through the end of the year. Why? Because I'm making calls to virtually anybody and everybody, thanking them for the year, and finding out from them what's going on. In other words, it's relationship building. And these phone calls generate a tremendous amount of new business for next year. It allows me to take and seize opportunities that may be right now, but it's a great way, because something I'm going to challenge people on. Don't think that you can't call high up in an organization at the end of the year. You sure can. You sure can. And many times you'll be amazed at the conversations you get.
Yeah, I love what Hugh is saying here. Organized planning the calendar. Thanks for sharing. Actually using this time as a competitive advantage. Hugh, I could not agree more. It will change the first and second quarter. I really believe that fourth quarter is for the first quarter, the first quarter of the year. And you say you learned so much from both of us. Well, we learned quite a bit from you. Fred has chimed in here with a great question, Mark, watching all the way from the Philippines. Welcome, Fred. My question is, what strategies can I use to overcome holiday-related decision-making delays?
There's so many things that you can do. And again, it goes back to kind of what we were talking about at the beginning, understanding when people's year end is, because again, some companies have got money to spend, some companies don't. Here's the key thing for anybody and everybody. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. This is not the time of year when everybody's got so many distractions that you come in with that complicated project. You come in with that complicated solution. Make it very, very easy for the customer to do business with you. So this means that you may very well be focused in on existing customers because they're already set up with you, they're used to you, and they can turn around and buy more from you. If you're going out to new customers, though, keep it very simple. Land and expand in the fourth quarter is absolutely key. Land the sale in the fourth quarter and expand it in the first quarter.
Go ahead.
No, I would love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I love what you're saying here too, is that keep it simple, because I think the other thing too is that call a spade a spade. Like, address the fact that it's the holidays. You know that they're busy. You know that they have a lot going on, but express the value in them handling this now. Is the fact that say, you're getting ready to go into holiday season. I know you've got a lot on your plate. I want to help you make a decision that's going to position you for success as soon as you come back in first quarter. I always say to people, I want to handle things now. I want to help you handle things now so that when you come back January 1, we're already moving. And if we delay, it's going to be 2 weeks into January before you get started, and you're already going to be behind. Couple that with what Mark said. In the holiday season, any lifting you can take off the customer, the better off they're going to be. My November and December are so busy. They are packed. And I was dealing with a vendor, and something I want to purchase is a significant buy. And they sent me this massive questionnaire of what I've got to fill out. I'm not doing it. I have no time. I have no interest. I am not doing it. And they are going to blow the sale because of it. The other thing is, so much on that questionnaire they could fill out for me. They could have sent it 80% populated and would have made my life easier, and I would have done 20%. So address the fact that they're busy, do the heavy lifting, and create the value.
See, that brings up the point. It's so much about keeping it easy. Make it easy for the customer. Hey, I love Brad. Brad jumps in. He's saying planning ahead in sales isn't just about mapping the road. It's about paving it. Yeah, well-crafted sales strategy is setting a GPS. Yeah, here's what I'm going to suggest. Now, this is the worst possible year in terms of calendar timing for the end of the year because of the way Christmas and New Year's falls, because it falls on Wednesday. So you're going to see a lot of
the whole week's gone.
Those 2 weeks are going to be shot. But what you got to do is you've got to seize the moment. And that following Monday, so that would be January 5th or whatever, you got to make sure that you've got appointments on the calendar. So in December, when people say, hey, let's come back and let's talk about this after the first of the year. Okay, fine. January 5th, January 6th, January 7th, get meetings on your calendar for that first week. Because here's what's going to happen. The majority of salespeople aren't going to do that. They're going to come back, and that first full week of January, they're going to empty calendar. What do I do? And I'll tell you what, if you don't have a full calendar starting on January 5th, newsflash, January is 8.5% of the year. And if you take the fourth quarter out of the year and say you got to make your number in 9 months, as Meridith talks about, that means it's about 14%. Do you want to give up 14% of your selling time? You got to get appointments right away. That first Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, Thomas has such a great comment here. Keep in mind, people are always busy during the holiday season. They use it as an objection. It's very common during this time of year. Sometimes it's just a knee-jerk reaction. I'm going to add to that you have got to double down on your value proposition. When people are pressed for time, I'm pressed for time right now. You're pressed for time. We're all pressed for time. And being pressed for time, you only have time for what will move the ball forward in your life. So you may need to review your value proposition as you move into the holiday season and really think about what is going to be effective and why would somebody give you your time? I mean, if they already are losing a week at Thanksgiving, they're losing a week over Christmas or New Year's or whatever time they decide to, take off for Hanukkah or whatever it is that they celebrate, if they're going to take that time away, why would they give it to you? And if you can answer that question, that's what you need to be leading with.
I think that brings up a great point, because it brings up, when you talk about setting up a meeting, there's got to be a real reason for that person to have that meeting. Because I think during this season is when people will ghost people more frequently than ever. So you got to be very, very careful. In other words, if you're setting up a meeting with somebody, say at 2:00 on a Thursday in December, you got to give them real value. Confirm the meeting, and confirm it with questions that you're going to ask. Confirm it with information you're going to be sharing, so they realize that this is an important meeting that I want to have on my calendar, and create that sense of urgency. Absolutely.
Yeah. Fred is chiming in again from the Philippines. How can I re-engage with prospects who went dark during the holiday season?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. First of all, don't lose sight of them. You can still be reaching out to them with marketing messages. Here's two things that I always do. If I'm leaving, I do a lot of phone calls and I leave voicemails. If during the holiday season, if people say they're out of the office until a certain date, I do not leave a message, because the last thing they want to do is come back from holidays and have some salesperson who has left a message. I just won't. I'll make a note as to when they're coming back. I won't call them the first day, but I'll call them the second or third day, period. 2, I do keep marketing drip messages going out, but I'm going to understand that I'm probably going to have a low open rate and that's okay. And if I take a step back, my staff, we've already been talking. How are we going to lay out the last couple of weeks of the year, because of where Christmas falls, because of where New Year's falls. And we're going to send out fewer messages. Why? Because again, people just don't want to be bombarded. So again, sequence your business to where you think your customers are going to want to be.
Yeah, I would also say that respect the fact that people go dark during the holiday season. I really believe you're never in control of the buying cycle. I mean, we live in a world where people can buy anything they want to, anywhere they want to, anytime they want to. And that means this whole idea of push selling is over. You're not in control. So if somebody goes dark for you during the holiday season, I simply send an email that says, enjoy the holiday season. Enjoy your time with your family and your friends. I'm going to continue to reach out. I'm going to continue to contact you so that when you are back in the office, you're ready to go. Things are going to be easy for you. So you give your permission to stay in touch with them. But when people go dark, they are signaling you 2 things. Number 1, they do not have time. And number 2, it's not their biggest priority. So you've got to do 2 things. You've got to respect the fact that the timing is not right, and you need to increase the value prop of why they would talk to you. I'm going to repeat that. You need to respect the fact that they are saying the timing is not right. You don't know. They could have 6 kids they've got to shop for, 24 family members, 7 Christmas parties they've got. You don't know what's on their plate. You don't have any idea. They could have so many different religions in their family that they've got to celebrate every holiday season that's going on, or they block December just to take time off every single. You don't know what it is, but I can guarantee you it rarely has anything to do with you. So respect it, but continue to drip through it.
Yeah. Or they've got a lot of year-end medical benefits that they got.
Yeah, they're going to the doctor like crazy. That's right.
Right. Hey, we got people listening, watching from Pakistan. This is absolutely terrific. We got great. Brad, this is so great. You read my mind, because planning your sales education, it is so good, because there may be times when you can't be making as many phone calls as you can, but you know what? You can still be educating your mind. You can still be planning yourself for the first quarter. And we'll do a show on this. What should your strategy look like for the first quarter? What should your strategy look like for the year? But again, you stay in the groove, because there's probably customers that you got to research. There's prospects you got to research. You got to be doing. So stay in the groove. Don't lose your skill set and step away from sales during the holidays just because you have people who aren't willing to really talk with you. Don't do that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brad, too, for saying you've got to expand that sales education with great info like sales logic. We certainly love that. Our friend from Pakistan here says, "What if a customer stops communicating once we share the complete details and not responding?" You need to go into the sales logic archives, and you need to find the sales logic on follow-up and what a follow-up system needs to look like. Understand you are not alone. Customers go dark all the time. It doesn't mean they aren't interested, but hit the archives, look for follow-up, and you'll find it there.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, follow-up happens, ghosting happens more than ever during November and December. And this is where don't lose faith. Don't lose faith. Stay in there. Hey, Thomas is jumping in. People use social media to stay connected. You're right. You're right. This is the time that you can be using social media. Again, this is going to vary depending on the country you're in, depending on the industry you're in, depending on the type of customers you're in. But you got to remember that during the holidays, you got to be able to use every channel, every medium out there. And it's amazing how there are people who, they may not be in social media much of the year, but during the holidays they are. So in other words, join them out there, but not from a sales pitchy standpoint. Join them just from a social communication standpoint. That's
which leads so beautifully into this gold advice from Hugh Hornsby. He said during the holiday season, he sends a personal note, not to sell, but just to say thank you and to wish people a great holiday season. And I love the fact that he says, he always gets a call or a response back. It's just another touch. You're just trying to stay visible. The reason I want you to hit your goals by the end of third quarter, and we'll talk about that when we talk about strategy, is that again, you don't have the ability to push in this, but it is the quarter you need that foot on the gas, as Mark said, and sell more than you've ever sold before, because this is the time for activity. You know, one of the nice things about not closing a lot of deals in November and December is that back half of sales of having to follow through and get the proposal done and all that, that's gone. So you are free just to prospect like a crazy person, and you should prospect like a crazy person. The other thing I'm going to say is understand that most of your competitors are drinking too much, are going to too many parties, or they're taking their foot off the gas. So it opens the market for you. And when you show up, when nobody else shows up, people remember that.
Oh, the human element is so real, especially in this AI-driven world. I love Hugh's comment about the whole sending out a letter. It's one of the reasons I do the phone calls, because I love doing the phone calls, because I just love having that human interaction. Natalie, another mastermind member, serve first, and if you don't hear back, it's just one step closer to someone who will respond. Exactly. There are so many opportunities out there. Here's the whole thing, though, during the holiday season. Don't get discouraged. Do not get discouraged. There's so many opportunities. Wow, time is moving by. We got to jump to the book, right? Yes, we've got to jump to the book. Hey, the book this week, it's a book that I wrote, High Profit Prospecting. If you're watching on the video, you see it behind me there. It's that yellow book there. Well, if I knew how to move, there it is. High Profit Prospecting. Check it out, because again, in that book, it lays out a holiday strategy. It lays out scripts. It lays out everything there. And that book is still just as relevant today as it was when it came out.
Did you catch that? Mark just said it lays out a holiday strategy and it lays out scripts and everything. If you have any questions about how to keep selling through the holiday season, check out High Profit Prospecting.
Yeah. And join the Sales Logic
Mastermind. I mean, we're going to be seriously getting into these things.
Oh, this is because all of the content from the book is loaded into the Sales Logic brain. So guess what? You can ask it questions and it automatically, page 162. Here's what it says. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, it's all there. Anyway, okay, we are burning time. So, hey, let's get to the lightning round. Are you ready?
I am.
Lightning round, top 10 strategies to hold an effective sales meeting.
Number one, have a reason why the heck you're going to have that meeting. If you don't have a good reason why you're having that meeting, don't have the meeting.
The purpose of the meeting is not for you. It's for your salespeople. If they don't walk out of that meeting better, then you had it just for you for a check. Again, don't do it.
Yeah. Number 3, look for engagement in the meeting. If you're talking 80% of the time, it's the same thing as blowing a sales call. You should only be talking 20% of the time.
Number 4, dedicate some part of the sales meeting for the salespeople to share their wins, their successes, and how they did it. Allow salespeople to learn from salespeople.
Don't lead every sales meeting. Pass it around. Everybody needs to lead a sales meeting. It'll be more effective if they learn to lead it.
Start the sales meeting on time and end it on time. One of the things that you want to do as a leader is make sure your people are showing up on time for sales calls and not droning on. Guess what? They're learning that as to how you do your sales meetings with them.
Yeah, start every single sales meeting with updates from the last meeting. Make sure that people know that they're accountable for progress.
Don't sit there and drone on going through things that could be handled by way of an email. If all you're doing is updating charts, updating numbers, that is stupid. That's a waste. You want to have conversation. You want to have discussion. You want to motivate people.
Yeah, ensure that number 8, ensure that everybody leaves the meeting with an action item, something that they're going to do differently and that they're going to improve from the last meeting they attended.
Number 9, always make sure that you celebrate somebody's win. Recognize some top performer over the previous period. Never miss a time to do that.
At least twice a year. Number 10, take a poll. Ask what's working in the meetings, what isn't working in the meetings, and what could be different to make the meetings more effective. There you go.
There you go. Hey, and with that, we want to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. Something we've said has earned you a single dollar. Consider telling a friend, because it's how we grow when we help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
all of this uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
All right. Now, check out the Sales Logic Mastermind. We want you in there because we want 2025 to be your best year on record. If you have a question, go to saleslogicpodcast.com, because you know what? We're going to feature you right here on this podcast. And as always, have an incredible week. Put it on your calendar. Join us right back here next week, 8 a.m. Eastern, for another episode of Sales Logic. We'll see you then.